myself Shri Bharadwaj, and today we are going to discuss about measure of central tendency, which is a topic of business statistics. Measures of central tendency. We discuss one by one. First of all, what is measures? Measure means to calculate, to estimate. Central means mid or lies almost mid. Tendency means a kind of characteristics. Now we take one example. Suppose I have the marks of 10 students in a class. The 10 स्टूडेंट्स के जो हमारे मार्क्स हैं वो हमारे लिए दैट इज द डेटा डेटा ऑफ 10 स्टूडेंट्स. Suppose I want a single value which represents the whole marks of 10 students. So I can get that single value by using some kind of calculations, some kind of estimations. That particular value represent a kind of characteristics is known as measure of central tendency. As the student of 10 marks, I say that the mean marks of 10 student is 22. So 22 is the single representative value. It represents the marks of 10 students, but the marks is represented by a single value, that is 22. If I say the median marks of the class of 10 student is 25, so what we say, median has a kind of characteristics. What is that? That it is the midpoint or mid value of the data. It represents that the students who has obtained the marks, their mid marks is 25. So mean, median, these are the measures of central tendency. What they actually represent? They actually represent a kind of characteristics. Characteristics for what? Characteristics for the data. Characteristics for the data. How we came to that value 25 or 22? We get these values by doing some kind of calculations, by doing some kind of estimations, and the values 22 or 25 lies between the range of the data. Range means from the starting point to the last point and lies almost in the mid of the data. That's why it is called measure of central tendency, or in simple language, or we are all these are also known as the averages. What we say, averages. Now I think we have cleared something about the measure of central tendency. Now how we will define, how we will write down, if someone asks us what is measure of central tendency, this is for the understanding purpose. But now what we do now, uh, if we want to define all these things, what we will do, we will say measure of central tendency. Let me clear it. A single value within the range of the data. That is used to represent all the values in the series is called measure of central tendency. I hope now it is clear to all what is measure of central tendency. Okay. Now we will discuss what are the various measures of central tendency. Various measure of central tendency. We have divided the measure of central tendencies into two parts. One is mathematical and second is positional. If we talk about the mathematically we have arithmetic mean. In short, we write down it AM. The second is geometric mean, VGM. And the third we have harmonic mean. In the positional we have two. One is median and second is mode. Why we have divided it into two parts? Mathematical, because these are purely based on the mathematical calculation. These have no concern with the position where the values lies in the data. But these two values are based on the position where the values lies in the data series. That's why these median and mode are called measure of central tendency, that is positional, and these are known as the mathematical. Now, now we will discuss good measure of central tendency. We talk about the properties. Properties which a good measure of central tendency should possess. The first we have based on all the items. Suppose we have the marks of 10 students, so our central tendency should be based on all the 10 marks, or all the 10 marks should be involved while we are deciding about the central tendency. Second, we have well defined. Well defined. Suppose I say median. So It should be clear to all that median is the midpoint. It should give only one meaning, not more than one meaning. Otherwise, there would be a confusion regarding what is mean, what is median, what is mode. That's why we always say a good measure of central tendency should be well defined. Third, we have easy to understand and simple to calculate. Our all the process of calculation should be very simple and easy to understand. Otherwise, there is always a confusion about what we are calculating and we are not able to get the correct value. That fourth, we have least affected. Least affected by the extreme values. Whatever we calculate, that should be least affected by the extreme values. Extreme values means the minimum value and maximum value of the data. It's not possible that maximum and minimum values will not affect the values, but it should least affect means there should be a less fluctuation in data. Next we have fifth, capable for further algebraic treatment. The meaning of capable for further algebraic treatment means whenever we calculate something, we should calculate it again, and if something is missing, we can calculate that thing also. This is the properties which a good measure of central tendency should have. Let me once explain one more. The first is based on all the items. Second, well defined. Third, easy to understand and simple to calculate. Least affected by the extreme values and capable for further algebraic treatment. Now I hope it's clear to all with all these points. Now we move to next. Now we will discuss about the arithmetic mean, or we will go for the forward how we will calculate the different measures of central tendency. But before going to that, we discuss something relevant which will help us to understand how we calculate. We say it's as types of series. Types of series, or we can say types of frequency distribution. Whatever calculations we do, we always have three types of series. The first we have individual series, or we also say it's ungrouped data. Example, I say marks of 5 students in a subject are 8, 10, 12, 14, 18. It's a kind of individual series. How we will judge that it's an individual series where the variable, that is the marks, are listed one after another without any kind of arrangement. That's why it's also known as the ungrouped data. We have formed no group, we have not arranged the data. That's why it's called ungrouped data, or simply we say this is an individual series. Second, we have discrete series. Suppose I say uh, marks and number of students 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 2, 1, 5, 3, 2. Now what this data shows, there are two students who have obtained the marks 5. There is only one student who has obtained the mark 7. There are 5 students who have obtained the marks 8. There are 3 students who have obtained the marks 9, and there is 2 students who have obtained the marks 10. Why we say it's a discrete series? Because here we say in discrete series we have two values. The first is variable x and with frequencies f. In this case, the mass is the variable, that is x, and number of student is the frequency f. What is frequency? Frequency is the number of times any value repeated. That 10 is repeated 2 times, 9 is repeated 3 times, 8 is repeated 5 times, 7 is repeated 1 times. Now what we have done in the previous case, we never consider about these types. There is no grouping, that's why it's ungrouped data. Now we have grouped. The 10 is a 2. It's also known as the grouped data. Grouped data, and the series is known as the discrete series. I hope it's clear to all. Now we move to the third one. Third, we have continuous series. Continuous series. First of all, I will take the example. Suppose we have given the marks and marks Now, what is the data is showing? Suppose we can say there is a test of 15 marks. 50 marks. We have divided the marks obtained by the student into small groups. What are the groups? 0 to 10 is one group, 10 to 20 is another group, 20 to 30 is another group, 30 to 40, 40 to 50. These are known as the groups. What we say groups or class interval. Class interval. 0 to 10 is known as a class. 0 to 10 is a class where 0 is known as the lower limit. Lower limit of the class, and 10 is called the upper limit. Upper limit of the class interval. Similarly, in this class interval, 10 is the lower limit and 20 is the upper limit, and in the third one 20 is the lower limit and 30 is the upper limit. So in continuous class interval, what we say, we divided all the range, what is our range, 0 to 50, into small groups called the class interval, having one lower limit as well as one upper limit. It is clear? And suppose there are 5 students who have obtained the marks between 0 to 10. So their counting is known their frequency. It's 5. Number of students, it means 5. There are 5 students who have obtained the marks between 0 to 10. There are 7 students who have obtained the marks between 10 to 20. There are 9 students who have obtained the marks 20 to 30. There are 6 students who have obtained the marks 30 to 40. Now it's clear to you. There are 3 types of series we have discussed. One is individual, second is discrete, and third is continuous. In individual series, we just have variable x without the frequency f, or without considering any kind of frequency, any kind of repetition. In the second, we have variable x with frequency f. With frequency f, it's discrete. And third, where variable, the range of the variable is divided into groups called the class interval, and relative frequencies are expressed with the class interval. So this is all for the first class.